Right here, I'm holding the keys to my very first apartment here at Twin Creeks Crossing in Allen, Texas. In approximately 30 minutes, I will no longer have possession of these keys. In approximately 30 minutes, I will officially be homeless. Now, I don't like to use the phrase homeless because I feel like living in a car is much closer to living in an apartment than it is to sleeping on a park bench or sleeping in a tent on the street in Skid Row or something to that effect. But I'm effectively homeless in that I don't have a permanent address. Granted, my parents' address is my permanent address for legal reasons, so on and so forth, but I consider myself to be more or less homeless. Now, I want to explain why I made this decision and how I came to this decision, because I know not even, 2.5 months ago, I was telling you guys that I was going to re-up the lease at my apartment, which I actually did. I actually signed a contract, which is why I'm moving out in December and not November, because my lease would have actually ended, my initial lease ended November 20th, November 19th, I believe. But today is December 10th, and I'm turning in my keys 10 days early. Now, let me give you guys some context. The reason why that was the decision that I made at the time, and the reason why I felt like I was being led down that path, is because at the time I only really had two options. And those options were to stay in the apartment or to move back in with my parents. Now, I'm not a very prideful person. Believe me when I tell you that. I know I can come across as prideful at times, and I can be prideful at times. But I know when to take a step back and walk in humility. But I also know when to take a step forward and walk in faith. And at the time, I knew that moving backwards was not an option for me. It's never been an option for me. I don't believe in regression. And I understand that sometimes you gotta fall back, sometimes you gotta recalibrate. But for me personally, I didn't see that as a viable option. I felt like I needed to bet on myself, and more importantly, bet on God, bet on the universe, bet on the divine synchronicities which have been presenting themselves to me for the better part of the past 3 or 4 years. With all of that being said, the reason why those were my only two options, the reason why I didn't consider the possibility of living in a car was because it wasn't possible for me, because I was still driving that BMW. You see, at the time that I re-signed the lease at my apartment, I actually still had the BMW, which was why I could not do what I'm doing right now. Okay, as you guys can see, I'll show you guys more here in a second, but my car is packed to the brim. All of this stuff would not have fit in my BMW, and more importantly, I wouldn't have been able to sleep in there. But not only that, the car would have drawn more attention, and because I was leasing the car, it had a miles limit, so I wouldn't have been able to travel like I'm about to travel. Because in a few days, I'm not going to be in Texas anymore, and I probably won't be back here for a while. And I'm saying this to say that basically, this was not an option until I got this car. Now, I didn't get this car specifically to live out of it. That wasn't my mindset, that wasn't my intention when I made this purchase. I got the car because it was half the price monthly of that BMW, and I could actually own it at the end. So for me, it was more of a cost-cutting decision. I actually didn't intend on getting this car the day that I got it. I was going to go out and get a 2004, I believe, a 2004 Lexus LS 430, which is more of a performance-oriented car, very luxurious car. 2004, but it was a very nice car nevertheless. I test drove it. That day, I planned on getting it. It was $12,000, 100,000 miles, custom rims, all that. I said, that's the car I'm going to get. And my monthly payment would probably be around $200 a month, so on and so forth. But I ended up going to the Lexus dealership, and I looked at the used cars, and I ended up with this Mazda CX-5. Now, maybe a few days after I got the car, the possibility began to emerge of me packing all of my belongings, packing all of my shit, selling everything that doesn't fit in the car, and just hitting the road. Which is something that I've always wanted to do, mind you. This isn't a new thing that I just randomly woke up one day and decided I want to travel. No, I've been wanting to do this for years now. I might not have been as vocal or expressive about it, but I've been wanting to do this for years. And the only reason why I couldn't do it is because I didn't have enough money. Now, when I was living with my parents, I didn't have enough money because I simply wasn't making enough money. And also, I didn't have a car that could make that type of lifestyle possible and sustainable for me. At least at the time, I wasn't aware of all of the conversions and things that people do. I don't like doing all that. I like to keep things very, very simple. So it wasn't a possibility at that time. Then when I moved out, it wasn't a possibility because I was spending my money on rent. And I remember one day I was just sitting in the apartment and I made that connection that, wait a minute, the only reason why I can't afford to travel is because I'm paying rent. So if I literally just got rid of the rent payment, I could travel full time. I could travel full time, live in this car because now I have a car, which cut my overhead down by a few $100s as well. And when I cut the rent out of the equation, as well as the electricity, the water bill, so on and so forth, all of a sudden, I find myself with an overhead of $600, give or take, monthly. And once I pay this car off, which I intend to do as soon as I possibly can, my overhead will be down into the $200 to $300 range, which at that point, it's time to start going internationally. And you guys will see all of that. Believe me when I tell you, you guys will see when I go internationally, you guys are going to see all of my travels around the US, so on and so forth. But I realized that the only thing holding me back was fear. The fear of uncertainty. Because I didn't know how to live out of a car. I didn't know where you sleep at night or what you can eat when you can't have a fridge or freezer, all of that. But that's what the internet is for. The beauty of the internet is that you can find the answer to pretty much any question that you have. And over the past month and a half, 2 months, I've done extensive research. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still moving on spontaneity and faith, by all means. The only definite conclusion that I've come to right now is my first destination, which I think that goes without saying. Okay, I don't think I should have to tell you guys where I'm going. If you've been following my channel for long enough, you know exactly where I'm going. Don't know how long I'm going to be there either. Might be 20 days, might be 20 years. I don't know. But what I do know is that I have the freedom to decide now, because everything that I own is sitting in this car right here with me. Everything that I own, all of my possessions, they're all in this car with me. I can literally pick up and move across the country at my own discretion, and that's the lifestyle that I want. That's the lifestyle that I want. I want a lifestyle of freedom. The opulence, having the nice apartment, the nice clothes, all of that, that's cool. That's for some people. But I've been there, done that. I've already had that. And I realized that that's not what I wanted out of life. This is what I want out of life. And maybe at some point, that will be what I want out of life. And when or if that time comes, I'll do that. But right now, I have to follow my heart. I have to follow my gut and do what resonates with me at this time in my life. I have to follow that desire for freedom as opposed to that desire for perception. Because for me to sit here and say that I'm homeless, it may sound crazy to some people. Most people would probably think that I'm down bad, I'm down atrocious, that I'm miserable about my situation. But I'm actually the happiest and most liberated that I've been in years. Because I'm taking control of my own life. I haven't felt like this since I quit my job at H&M or since I dropped out of college. This is another one of those types of decisions. And every time I've made one of those decisions, it has worked out in my favor. Every single time. So, I'm homeless. I'm homeless, effectively speaking. I am homeless, and I consider myself to be a transient. I'm just going around at my own discretion, living my life. My passive income covers my overhead, so I can pretty much damn near retire at this point. But I'm going to continue to document my process to show you guys that there is more to life than the American dream that the Matrix leaders, the elites, if you will, have been selling you. Because believe me when I tell you that there is a lot more to life. So much more to life than getting that big house, getting those expensive cars, which more often than not aren't worth it. Okay, if I'm just being honest, they're usually not worth it. And being miserable in private, but a success in public. A public success, but a private failure. Take control of your life. Take control of your life. I'm not just telling you this anymore. I am showing you. I am showing you that this works. I didn't document my process of dropping out of college. I hardly documented my process of quitting my job. This time, I'm documenting the whole thing. I'm documenting the whole entire process because I know that there is at least one other person out there who is just waiting for that permission. They need to give themselves that permission to start living in their truth. And maybe this video will help them give themselves that permission. Because I know for me, I needed to find that permission within myself. And that's what I did. And I've reached a point now where it doesn't matter who agrees or disagrees with what I'm doing. I'm going to do it because it's my life and my experiences. I will live with the consequences of my actions. If something happens, if I die in this car, hey, that's just what happens. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm in a position where I can travel full time. I'm financially free. I don't have to constantly gripe about material possessions and so on and so forth. And I can just move around at my own pace. And it feels pretty damn good. I must say, it feels pretty good. But let me go ahead and show you guys everything that I have in the car. It's starting to rain, so I'm probably just gonna have to be creative and get really flexible and film from inside the car. So like I said, this is everything that I own. This right here is my food container. This will be coming with me everywhere that I go. I have some bowls and non-perishable items, paper towels, so on and so forth. I'll give you guys an extensive tour once I put some of my stuff in the storage unit over in California. But this right here, I'm probably gonna give all of that to my parents. I have my technology bag right there. I have my power station right here from Jackery. Yo, I need that Jackery sponsorship. I'm speaking that into existence. I need that Jackery sponsorship. I got these tissues right here. Going through the desert, might get allergies, I don't know. Got my clothes and stuff in this suitcase right here. I have a bunch of miscellaneous items. This right here, this whole container is going in the storage unit. As you can see over there in that other container, I have more of my clothes. And then over here, I have my bedding. You can see I have my pillow, sleeping bag. I have my little camping mattress underneath. And then I have an extra blanket in addition to that, just in case I need it. And then right here, I have my gym bag. This is where I keep my toiletries. This is where I keep anything that I need to shower up and all of that type of stuff. So that's pretty much everything that I own at this point. Okay, so it just occurred to me that you guys have never actually seen the outside of my apartment before, obviously for safety reasons, but since I just turned in my keys, I can go ahead and show you guys now. Look, man, we got to turn this building into a museum one of these days. That's the pool right there, the pool that I never swam in. You guys don't know, your boy can't swim. But this is the building that I've been in, bro. Building Q. Twin Creeks Crossing Building Q. Turn this building into a museum.